Rachel had always been a fighter. At just 26 years old, she found herself raising her 2-year-old son, Noah, alone after her partner walked out on them shortly after the baby was born. Life wasn't easy. Balancing full-time work with childcare meant endless days filled with exhaustion. But Rachel refused to give up. Every morning began the same way, waking up before dawn to prepare breakfast for Noah, rushing to drop him off at daycare, and then heading straight to her desk at a mid-sized marketing firm. Her days were packed with meetings, deadlines, and client calls, leaving little room for rest. By evening, she'd pick Noah up, cook dinner, bathe him, and read bedtime stories until he finally drifted off to sleep. Only then could Rachel collapse onto the couch, often falling asleep with her laptop still open beside her. Despite her relentless efforts, Rachel felt like an outsider in her workplace. Many of her coworkers saw her as the mom, assuming her priorities lay elsewhere and dismissing her contributions during team discussions. Some openly questioned whether she belonged in such a competitive environment, whispering behind her back about how having a child made her unreliable. "She'll never last here," one colleague muttered loudly enough for Rachel to overhear during lunch one day. "How can she focus on work when she's running home to change diapers?" Rachel bit her lip, forcing herself not to react. She knew what they thought of her. A distraction, a burden, someone unworthy of their respect. But deep down, she also knew something they didn't. She was capable of far more than they imagined. For now, though, she kept quiet. Instead of retaliating or defending herself, Rachel poured all her energy into excelling at her job. Every report she submitted was flawless. Every presentation she delivered earned praise from clients. Yet none of it seemed to matter to her critics. To them, she would always be just a mom. Little did they know, their mockery only fueled her determination. Rachel vowed to prove them wrong, not for revenge, but because she believed in her own potential. And unbeknownst to anyone, this resolve would set her on a path toward greatness. The whispers grew louder over time. At first, Rachel tried to ignore them, convincing herself that her work would speak for itself. But as the days turned into weeks, the mocking became harder to brush off. It started subtly, a snicker when she left early for daycare pickup, a sarcastic comment about mommy duties during team meetings, but soon escalated into outright ridicule. One particularly grueling week, Rachel was assigned to lead a high-stakes campaign for a major client. She spent countless late nights fine-tuning strategies, analyzing data, and coordinating with her team. Exhausted but determined, she presented the plan confidently, earning nods of approval from both her manager and the client. But just days before the launch, disaster struck. A critical error in the ad copy caused confusion among customers, leading to backlash online. While Rachel hadn't been directly responsible for the mistake, it had slipped through multiple rounds of review. Her colleagues were quick to point fingers. "It's no surprise this happened," sneered Greg, one of her harshest critics, during a tense meeting. "With all her distractions, how could we expect anything less?" Rachel clenched her fists under the table, biting back tears. She wanted to defend herself, to explain that she'd worked harder than anyone else on that project. But she knew it wouldn't matter. They'd already made up their minds about her. Other coworkers chimed in, piling on the criticism. "Maybe she should stick to playdates instead of presentations," joked Sarah, another colleague, drawing laughter from the group. The room fell silent as Rachel stood up, her voice steady despite the storm brewing inside her. "I take full responsibility for what went wrong," she said firmly, "and I'll fix it. But if any of you have constructive feedback instead of insults, I'm happy to hear it." Her professionalism silenced the room momentarily, but the damage was done. From that day forward, Rachel became a target. Her every move was scrutinized, her every misstep magnified. Even minor slip-ups, like arriving 5 minutes late after dropping Noah off at daycare, were met with eye rolls and muttered complaints. Despite the hostility, Rachel refused to let their negativity define her. She stayed late to ensure projects were flawless, volunteered for tasks others avoided, and consistently delivered results that exceeded expectations. Yet no matter how hard she worked, the mockery persisted. One afternoon, As Rachel sat alone in the break room nursing a cup of coffee, she overheard two coworkers talking nearby. "She doesn't belong here," one said dismissively. "She's holding us back." Rachel felt a lump rise in her throat, but she swallowed it down. These words hurt more than she cared to admit, not because they were true, but because they reflected a deeper truth about society's biases against working mothers. Still, she reminded herself why she kept going. Every sacrifice she made was for Noah, for his future, his happiness, and the life she wanted to build for him. And so, she resolved to keep pushing forward, even if it meant enduring their scorn in silence. But deep down, a seed of ambition began to grow. If they thought she didn't belong, she'd prove them wrong. Not just for herself, but for every woman who'd ever been underestimated because of her role as a mother. Rachel's resolve hardened with each passing day. The mockery and skepticism from her coworkers only fueled her determination to prove them wrong. She began arriving at the office earlier than anyone else, staying late into the night to ensure her work was impeccable. While others complained about tight deadlines or difficult clients, Rachel embraced every challenge as an opportunity to grow. Her first major breakthrough came during a high-profile campaign for a tech startup. The project had been struggling due to miscommunication between departments, leaving the team scrambling to salvage it. Rachel volunteered to take charge, knowing this was her chance to shine or fail trying. For weeks, she poured her heart into the campaign. She organized brainstorming sessions, streamlined workflows, and personally handled client meetings to rebuild trust. Her dedication paid off when the revamped strategy not only met but exceeded expectations, earning glowing feedback from the client. "You've saved us," her manager said during a follow-up meeting. This was exceptional work. Though Rachel appreciated the acknowledgement, she noticed the lack of credit given in front of her colleagues. When the success of the campaign was announced in a company-wide email, her name wasn't even mentioned. Instead, the praise went to senior executives who had barely contributed. It stung, but Rachel refused to let bitterness consume her. Instead, she used it as motivation to keep climbing. Over time, she became known within the company as someone who could handle anything thrown her way, whether it was troubleshooting technical glitches, mentoring junior staff, or turning around failing projects. But despite her growing reputation for excellence, the biases against her persisted. During performance reviews, Rachel's managers often cited her personal commitments as potential barriers to advancement, subtly implying that motherhood made her unfit for leadership roles. "They don't see me as CEO material," Rachel confided in a close friend one evening over the phone. "They think I'm too distracted by Noah." "Then show them they're wrong," her friend replied firmly. "Leave if you have to. There are better places where your talent will be valued." At first, the idea of leaving seemed impossible. This job was stable, and stability meant security for Noah. But as the months dragged on, Rachel realized she was losing herself in an environment that refused to recognize her worth. One fateful Friday afternoon, after yet another dismissive comment from Greg about her ability to balance work and family, Rachel decided enough was enough. That weekend, she updated her resume and began exploring opportunities elsewhere. Her decision led her to a smaller but innovative marketing agency known for valuing creativity and inclusivity. From the moment she walked in for her interview, Rachel felt a difference. The hiring manager, a woman who openly discussed her own experiences as a working mom, asked thoughtful questions about Rachel's vision for growth and collaboration. "We believe diversity isn't just a buzzword, it's our strength," the manager said warmly. "And mothers bring unique perspectives that enrich our teams." Rachel accepted the offer without hesitation. On her first day at the new company, she felt a weight lift off her shoulders. For the first time in years, she didn't feel like she had to constantly prove herself or hide parts of her identity to fit in. The supportive environment allowed Rachel to thrive. Within months, she spearheaded initiatives that boosted revenue and expanded the agency's client base. Her ideas were celebrated rather than dismissed, and her contributions earned her rapid promotions. As she rose through the ranks, Rachel also took steps to address her own insecurities. She enrolled in leadership workshops, honed her public speaking skills, and sought mentorship from industry veterans. Slowly but surely, she transformed from the underestimated single mom into a confident, respected professional. By the 5th year at her new company, Rachel had earned a senior executive position. Her journey wasn't easy. It required countless sacrifices, sleepless nights, and moments of self-doubt, but she emerged stronger and more determined than ever. Yet even as she achieved success, Rachel never forgot where she came from, or the people who had doubted her. Somewhere deep inside, she knew this wasn't the end of her story. Rachel's new role as a senior executive marked the beginning of a transformative chapter, not just for her career but for her sense of purpose. At her innovative marketing agency, she found herself surrounded by people who valued her talents and supported her journey as both a professional and a mother. For the first time in years, Rachel felt truly seen and appreciated. Her leadership style was unique, rooted in empathy, collaboration, and a deep understanding of what it meant to overcome adversity. She encouraged open communication within her team, creating spaces where everyone felt comfortable sharing ideas without fear of judgment. "I've been in your shoes," she often told junior employees during meetings. "I know what it's like to feel underestimated. But don't let anyone tell you what you can or can't achieve. Your potential is limitless." Under her guidance, the agency flourished. Rachel spearheaded groundbreaking campaigns that earned industry awards, expanded into international markets, and fostered partnerships with global brands. Her ability to think outside the box while staying grounded in real-world challenges set her apart from other leaders. But Rachel didn't stop there. Determined to pay forward the support she'd received, she implemented policies aimed at helping working parents thrive. Flexible hours, on-site childcare options, and mental health resources became staples of the company culture. All initiatives inspired by her own struggles. Workplaces should adapt to people's lives, not the other way around, Rachel explained during a panel discussion on work-life balance. When we invest in our employees' well-being, we unlock their full potential. Her advocacy extended beyond her company. Rachel began speaking at conferences, sharing her story to inspire others facing similar challenges. Audiences were captivated by her honesty and resilience, often approaching her afterward to express gratitude. "You're proof that we can rise above anything," one young mother told her tearfully after a keynote speech. "Thank you for showing us it's possible." Despite her growing influence, Rachel remained humble. She credited much of her success to Noah, whose laughter and curiosity reminded her daily of why she worked so hard. On weekends, they spent quality time together, visiting parks, baking cookies, and reading books side by side. These moments kept her grounded, even as her career reached new heights. As the years passed, Rachel continued shattering glass ceilings. Her reputation grew not only within her agency but across the entire industry. Competitors began poaching strategies she pioneered, and media outlets hailed her as a trailblazer for women in business. Yet none of these accolades compared to the quiet pride she felt when looking at Noah, now a bright and confident preteen. He idolized his mom, often bragging to classmates about how amazing she was. "She's a superhero," he once declared proudly during career day at school. Rachel laughed, hugging him tightly. "No, sweetheart. I'm just someone who refused to give up." By the 10th year of her journey, Rachel had achieved what many considered impossible. She was headhunted by several Fortune 500 companies, each offering lucrative packages to bring her aboard. But Rachel hesitated, unsure if she wanted to leave the nurturing environment she'd helped build. Then came an unexpected opportunity, one that would allow her to confront her past head-on. A major corporation, the same one where she'd faced ridicule and discrimination years earlier, was searching for a new CEO. Their previous leader had stepped down amid scandal, leaving the company in disarray. Desperate to restore credibility, the board approached Rachel, recognizing her as someone capable of turning things around. At first, Rachel balked at the idea. Returning to the place where she'd endured so much pain seemed unimaginable. But then she thought about all the lessons she'd learned along the way, the strength she'd gained, the barriers she'd broken, and the countless individuals still fighting against biases like those she'd faced. If she could change that toxic culture from within, wouldn't it be worth it? After weeks of deliberation, Rachel accepted the offer. As she prepared to step into the role, she reflected on the irony of the situation. The very company that had dismissed her as unworthy was now entrusting her with its future. This isn't about revenge, she reminded herself. It's about proving that everyone deserves a fair chance, and that greatness can come from anywhere. With Noah cheering her on and a decade of experience behind her, Rachel embraced the challenge ahead. Little did she know, her arrival would send shockwaves through the organization and teach her former critics a lesson they'd never forget. The day Rachel walked into her former company as its new CEO felt surreal. Dressed in a tailored navy suit and heels, she carried herself with quiet confidence, a stark contrast to the young, uncertain woman who had once been mocked in these very halls. Her arrival was met with stunned silence as employees gathered in the conference room for the official announcement. Greg, now a senior manager, stood near the back of the crowd, his face pale as he recognized her. Sarah, seated at a table nearby, dropped her pen mid-sentence, her jaw slack with disbelief. Whispers rippled through the room like wildfire. "Is that Rachel?" someone murmured. "The same Rachel who used to work here?" Rachel stepped up to the podium, her presence commanding attention without needing to say a word. She scanned the room, meeting familiar faces, one by one, and smiled faintly before beginning her speech. "Thank you all for welcoming me today," she began, her voice calm but firm. "I know this might come as a surprise to some of you, especially those who remember my time here years ago. But let me assure you, I'm not here to dwell on the past or settle scores. I'm here because this company has incredible potential, and I believe we can achieve greatness together." Her words hung in the air, heavy with meaning. For those who had underestimated her, the subtext was clear. She had returned not out of bitterness but out of a desire to lead with integrity and purpose. After the meeting, Greg approached her hesitantly, his usual bravado replaced with nervousness. "Rachel?" he started, rubbing the back of his neck awkwardly. I didn't expect to see you again. Not like this, anyway." She turned to face him, her expression unreadable. "Neither did I," she replied evenly. "But life has a way of surprising us, doesn't it?" Greg shifted uncomfortably, glancing around as if searching for an escape. "Look, I owe you an apology for everything. Back then I was wrong about you. About all of it." Rachel studied him for a moment, then nodded slowly. "Apology accepted. But moving forward, actions matter more than words. Let's focus on building something better for everyone." As news of Rachel's appointment spread throughout the company, reactions ranged from admiration to embarrassment. Former colleagues who had doubted her abilities were forced to confront their biases, while younger employees looked up to her as proof that perseverance could overcome even the harshest obstacles. During her first few months as CEO, Rachel implemented sweeping changes aimed at fostering inclusivity and respect within the workplace. She introduced mandatory training sessions on unconscious bias, established mentorship programs for women and minorities, and created policies supporting working parents. All initiatives inspired by her own experiences. One afternoon, during a town hall meeting, an employee raised her hand timidly. "Ms. Carter," she began, addressing Rachel formally despite being encouraged to use her first name. "How do you stay so strong when people doubt you? How do you keep going?" Rachel paused, considering the question thoughtfully. Then she smiled gently. "You don't have to be fearless to move forward," she explained. "Fear is natural. It means you're stepping outside your comfort zone. What matters is what you choose to do next. You either let fear stop you, or you use it as fuel to push harder. For me, knowing that my son was counting on me gave me strength. And knowing that others are counting on me now keeps me grounded." Her response earned applause, not just from the audience but from deep within the hearts of those listening. Over time, the culture of the company began to shift. Employees who had once dismissed Rachel as just a mom now sought her advice and guidance. Projects that had stalled under previous leadership gained momentum under her innovative strategies. Morale soared as people realized they were valued not for their titles or appearances but for their contributions. Yet perhaps the most profound change occurred within Rachel herself. Returning to the place where she'd faced ridicule wasn't easy. It stirred old wounds and reopened memories she'd worked hard to bury. But confronting her past head-on allowed her to heal in ways she hadn't anticipated. "I'm not the same person I was 10 years ago," she confided in Noah one evening as they sat together on the couch. "And neither is this company. We've both grown." Noah grinned, leaning against her shoulder. "You're still my superhero, Mom." Rachel laughed softly, kissing the top of his head. "And you're mine." Rachel's journey from being mocked as just a mom to becoming the CEO of her former company left an indelible mark, not only on her own life but also on everyone who witnessed her transformation. Her story became a beacon of hope, challenging deeply ingrained biases and inspiring others to rethink their assumptions about capability, dedication, and success. Within the company, Rachel's leadership reshaped its culture entirely. The policies she implemented didn't just benefit working parents. They created a ripple effect that improved collaboration, boosted morale, and fostered innovation across all levels. Employees began to see each other not as competitors or stereotypes but as individuals with unique strengths and challenges. Greg, once one of Rachel's harshest critics, emerged as one of her strongest allies. After witnessing her ability to lead with grace and fairness, he approached her privately one afternoon. "I've learned so much from you," he admitted earnestly. "Not just about business, but about how to treat people. You didn't hold grudges even when you had every right to. That takes real strength." Rachel smiled warmly. "We all make mistakes, Greg. What matters is whether we learn from them and grow." Her words resonated deeply with him, prompting him to become an advocate for inclusivity within the team. He started mentoring younger employees, particularly fathers struggling to balance work and family responsibilities, sharing lessons he'd learned from Rachel's example. Sarah, too, underwent a transformation. Once quick to judge others, she now championed initiatives aimed at supporting underrepresented groups in the workplace. During a company-wide event celebrating Women's History Month, she stood beside Rachel on stage and shared her own reflections. "I used to think success meant leaving personal struggles at the door," Sarah confessed. "But Rachel taught me that our humanity, our stories, is what makes us stronger. We're better together when we embrace who we are." The impact extended far beyond the office walls. News of Rachel's rise to CEO spread throughout the industry, sparking conversations about bias against working mothers and caregivers. Media outlets featured her story, highlighting how perseverance and resilience could break through even the most entrenched barriers. At conferences and panels, Rachel continued to speak openly about her experiences, urging organizations to create environments where everyone could thrive. "Motherhood isn't a liability, it's an asset," she declared during one keynote speech. "It teaches patience, problem-solving, and unconditional commitment." Imagine what workplaces could achieve if we stopped seeing parenthood as a disadvantage and started valuing it as the strength it truly is. Her advocacy inspired countless women and men to challenge societal norms and demand equal opportunities. Young professionals reached out to thank her for paving the way, while seasoned leaders credited her with redefining what it means to be a successful executive. For Rachel, the greatest reward wasn't the accolades or titles. It was knowing she had made a difference. Every policy change, every shift in perspective, and every person empowered because of her efforts reminded her why she had fought so hard. And then there was Noah. Now a teenager, he watched his mother transform not only her career but also the lives of those around her. "You changed the world, Mom," he said proudly one evening as they strolled through the park near their home. Rachel chuckled softly, shaking her head. "No, sweetheart. I just tried to make it a little fairer for everyone." He grinned, looping his arm through hers. "Still counts as changing the world to me." As they walked together beneath the golden glow of streetlights, Rachel reflected on how far she'd come. From the young single mother ridiculed for juggling diapers and deadlines to the CEO rewriting the rules of leadership, her journey had been anything but easy. But every step had been worth it. Because in the end, Rachel proved something powerful. Greatness isn't defined by where you start. It's shaped by how you rise after falling. And sometimes the hardest battles yield the sweetest victories. Rachel's journey, from being mocked as just a mom to walking in as CEO, reminds us that greatness isn't defined by where you start, but by how you respond to challenges. Her story is a powerful testament to the fact that perseverance, self-belief, and resilience can shatter even the most stubborn barriers. And now, it's your turn to carry that same spirit of determination into your own life. Think about the people around you, your family, friends, coworkers, neighbors, or even strangers you encounter daily. How many of them might be facing judgment, criticism, or doubt because of their circumstances? Maybe they're underestimated at work, dismissed for their choices, or told they aren't enough. What if you were the person who stepped in to offer encouragement instead of criticism? Start small but meaningful. Encourage someone who feels overlooked or undervalued. Offer words of support to a colleague balancing personal responsibilities alongside their job. Celebrate the efforts of parents juggling careers and families, because trust us, they're doing far more than meets the eye. These gestures may feel simple, but to someone fighting an uphill battle, they can mean everything. Speak up when it matters. Like Rachel proving her critics wrong, use your voice to challenge stereotypes and biases. If you notice someone being judged unfairly, whether based on gender, parenthood, background, or any other factor, advocate for fairness and inclusivity. Courage doesn't always require grand gestures. Sometimes, it's as simple as saying, "I see your potential. Invest in others' growth." Whether it's mentoring someone striving to break through barriers, volunteering your time to support underrepresented groups, or simply sharing resources with those in need, every effort counts. By believing in someone even when the world doubts them, you give them permission to believe in themselves. Challenge societal norms. Too often, we judge individuals based on appearances, roles, or circumstances without considering their full potential. Break that cycle by looking beyond surface-level differences. Treat everyone with dignity and respect, recognizing that true strength lies not in perfection but in persistence. Share the story. Stories like Rachel's remind us that ordinary people can achieve extraordinary things through acts of courage and resilience. Share this tale with friends, family, coworkers, or online communities. Inspire others to reflect on the power of perseverance and how it can transform lives, including their own. Get involved locally. Look around your community. What needs fixing? Is there a program supporting working parents? Could you mentor young professionals navigating workplace challenges? Even small efforts add up to meaningful impact when we work together. Tell us your story. We'd love to hear from you. Have you ever faced judgment or adversity? Or maybe you've stepped up to help someone overcome negativity. Share your experiences in the comments below. It might inspire others to do the same. Personal stories are powerful tools for connection. They remind us that we're not alone and that our actions, no matter how small, can resonate deeply with others. Advocate for systemic change. While individual acts of kindness matter, lasting transformation often requires addressing bigger issues. Join advocacy groups working to combat bias, promote diversity, and uplift marginalized voices. Write to local leaders, sign petitions, or raise awareness within your network. Together, we can ensure everyone has access to opportunities for growth and success. Remember, heroes aren't born. They're made through everyday choices to rise above negativity and create positive change. Just like Rachel, you don't need wealth, status, or recognition to make a difference. All you need is heart. Let's honor stories like hers by creating our own legacies of courage and compassion. Because when we lift each other up, we rise higher together. Imagine the possibilities if everyone reading this committed to performing one act of kindness today. One kind word, one helping hand, one moment of encouragement could set off a chain reaction that transforms lives. So what will your ripple look like? Will you mentor someone striving for a better future? Donate resources to a cause you care about? Speak up for someone who needs support? Or perhaps you'll start smaller, by simply smiling at a stranger or telling someone, "You matter." Whatever it is, remember that no act of kindness is too small. Each one contributes to a larger wave of positivity that can reach farther than we ever dreamed. Start today. Be the change. Let's rewrite the future one act of kindness at a time. Together, we can build communities rooted in empathy, resilience, and mutual respect. We can create spaces where everyone feels valued, supported, and empowered to thrive. And as we do, we'll prove that courage and compassion are not just qualities. They're choices we make every single day. So go ahead, choose courage. Choose kindness. Choose to make a difference. The ripple effect starts with you.